"Diana, you're making a huge mistake." My father's voice echoed through our family's mahogany-paneled study. "Walking away from Harrison and Associates? You'll be nothing without family connections." I stood my ground, resignation letter clutched in my hand. At 25, I'd spent 3 years watching my family's law firm prioritize profits over people, turning justice into a commodity only the wealthy could afford. "I'm starting my own practice," I stated firmly. "One that actually helps people who need it." My brother James snickered from his leather chair. "With what money? What connections? Face it, little sister, you're nothing without the Harrison name." "You'll come crawling back," Dad warned, his silver hair catching the evening light. "Nobody succeeds in corporate law without proper backing." I straightened my shoulders, thinking of the small office I'd already leased. Watch me. That was 10 years ago. Now, at 35, I sat in my corner office at Walker Legal Solutions, named after my mother's maiden name, the family name I'd chosen to embrace. Through the glass walls, I could see my team of 30 lawyers working diligently, each chosen for their integrity rather than their pedigree. "Ms. Walker." My assistant Michael knocked softly. "The merger documents from Evergreen Corp just arrived. And you might want to see who's handling the other side." I opened the file and a familiar letterhead made my heart skip. Harrison and Associates. "There's more," Michael added hesitantly. "The client list includes James Harrison Jr., senior partner." I read aloud, my brother's name stark against the white paper. "And look who needs my approval for their biggest merger of the year." My phone buzzed, a text from my father. "We need to talk. Family dinner tonight." 10 years of silence broken because they needed something. How typical. I'd built my firm from scratch, specializing in ethical corporate law and pro bono work for small businesses. We'd earned a reputation for integrity that attracted clients tired of old-school legal manipulation, including, apparently, Evergreen Corp, a tech giant known for its environmental initiatives. Should I decline the dinner invitation? Michael asked, knowing my history. I studied the merger documents again. Harrison and Associates needed my firm's approval because we represented 3 key shareholders in Evergreen Corporation. Without our sign-off, their billion-dollar deal would collapse. "No," I smiled, remembering all those dismissive comments about my little practice. "Accept it. But first, call our research team. I want every detail about this merger before I face my family." That evening, I pulled up to my parents' mansion in my Tesla, a deliberate choice that would irk my father's oil industry clients. The same butler who'd watched me leave in tears 10 years ago opened the door. "Miss Diana," he nodded, a slight smile playing at his lips. He'd seen the news about my firm's successes. Inside, the tension was thick enough to cut. Mom fussed with flower arrangements, trying to pretend this was a normal family dinner. James paced by the fireplace, his designer suit unable to hide his nervousness. "Diana," Dad stepped forward, arms open for a hug I didn't return. "You're looking successful." "Cut the act," I said quietly, placing my briefcase on his prized antique table. "We both know why I'm here." "Now, sweetheart," he began, using his courtroom voice, "family should stick together." I pulled out the merger documents. "Funny, that's not what you said 10 years ago." James stopped pacing. "Listen, Diana, about the merger." "Oh yes," I smiled, channeling the steel I'd developed over years of facing down corporate giants. "Let's talk about the merger. Shall we begin?" Their faces froze as I opened the file, years of dismissal and doubt about to come full circle. "You can't seriously be considering blocking this merger," James sputtered, his perfectly styled hair showing signs of stress. "It's worth billions." I settled into Dad's favorite leather chair, his power seat at the head of the dining table. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. "Actually," I replied, pulling out more documents, "I'm considering a lot of things. Like how Harrison and Associates conveniently buried the environmental impact reports on page 847 of the disclosure documents." Dad's face paled. "Those reports are technically compliant." "Technically?" I raised an eyebrow. "Like how you technically followed ethics guidelines when you dismissed Mrs. Rodriguez's wrongful termination case 10 years ago, because she couldn't afford your retainer." "That was business," he snapped. "No, that was wrong. And it's why I left." I spread out the environmental reports. "Just like these numbers are wrong. Evergreen Corp built its reputation on environmental responsibility. Did you think nobody would notice these violations? James leaned forward, desperation creeping into his voice. Diana, be reasonable. This merger would make the firm's year. My promotion to managing partner depends on it. Ah yes, the famous Harrison legacy. I pulled out my laptop. Let's talk about legacies. I turned the screen to show them my firm's latest statistics. Highest ethical compliance rating in the state, successful representation of over 200 small businesses pro bono, and a client satisfaction rate that made Harrison and Associates look amateur. This is my legacy, I stated firmly. Built without the Harrison name, without your connections, without compromising my principles. Mom, who had been unusually quiet, spoke up. Diana, honey, surely we can work something out. As a family. Family. I laughed softly. Was it family when you all mocked my little practice? When Dad told every legal contact in town not to work with me. The room fell silent. Even James had the grace to look ashamed. But you know what? I continued, closing my laptop. I should thank you. Every door you closed forced me to find another way. Every client you scared off made me work harder. And now. I gestured to the merger documents. Now your jobs depend on my signature. What do you want? Dad finally asked, his courtroom confidence cracking. I pulled out another file. One I'd prepared years ago, waiting for this moment. A complete restructuring of Harrison and Associates pro bono program. Real cases, real help for people who need it. And I smiled. James steps down from the Environmental Law Division. That's my specialty. James protested. No, that's your profit center, I corrected. And you've proven you can't handle it ethically. Dad started to object, but I held up my hand. You have 24 hours to decide. Or I take these environmental reports to Evergreen Corp's board myself. You wouldn't, James whispered. It would destroy the firm. I stood, gathering my documents. 10 years ago you said I was nothing without this family. Care to test that theory? As I walked toward the door, Dad called out, Diana, wait. What happened to you? I turned, meeting his eyes. I became what you never expected. Successful without being ruthless. Now you have until tomorrow to decide if you can do the same. The next morning my office buzzed with nervous energy. Everyone knew what was at stake. Not just a merger, but a potential shift in the city's legal landscape. They're here, Michael announced, looking dapper in his tailored suit. He'd come a long way from the homeless pre-law student I'd met at our free legal clinic 5 years ago. Now he was my right hand, proof that talent didn't need pedigree. Dad entered first, followed by James and their team of associates. Their expressions ranged from resigned to resentful. A far cry from their usual courtroom swagger. The paperwork? I asked simply. James dropped a thick folder on my desk. The pro bono program restructuring you demanded. And he swallowed hard. My resignation from environmental law. I reviewed the documents carefully, noting how Dad's hands fidgeted with his Rolex. A tell he only showed when cornered. The pro bono commitments were solid. Dedicated staff, real resources, and a mandate to take on meaningful cases. There's something else, Dad said quietly. He pulled out another document. We'd like to offer you a partnership. I couldn't help but laugh. Still don't get it, do you? I didn't do all this to get back into Harrison and Associates. I did it to change how law is practiced in this city. But together we could. No, Dad. Look around. I gestured to my office walls, lined with thank you letters from small business owners we'd helped, families we'd protected, communities we'd served. This is what success looks like. Not billing hours but changing lives. James studied the letters, something shifting in his expression. That Rodriguez case you mentioned, what happened to her? She's our head paralegal now, I smiled. Turns out she has a brilliant legal mind when someone actually gives her a chance. The silence that followed was heavy with realization. The merger approval, Dad finally said. Will you sign? I pulled out my own documents. Yes, but with additional conditions. Evergreen Corp will establish an environmental oversight committee. And Harrison and Associates will provide free legal services to communities affected by corporate environmental violations. That's not what they hired us for, James protested weakly. No, it's what they need us for, I corrected. That's the difference between us, brother. I never forgot why I became a lawyer. As they signed the new agreements, I saw Mom watching through the glass walls. She'd come with them but hadn't entered, perhaps finally seeing the daughter she'd dismissed all those years ago. One more thing, I added as they prepared to leave. The Rodriguez case files. I want them all. Dad frowned. Why? It's ancient history. Because next month we're launching a workers' rights initiative. In that case, it's going to be our template for change. They left quieter than they came, their expensive shoes clicking down the hallway of the firm they'd once mocked. Through my office windows, I could see the city skyline, dotted with buildings bearing the names of old money firms like Harrison and Associates. Michael, I called. Schedule a press conference. It's time to announce our workers' rights initiative. Already done, he grinned. And Mrs. Rodriguez wants to know if she can speak at it. I picked up a framed photo from my desk. My first client, a small restaurant owner who'd needed help fighting a corporate takeover. We'd won that case and everyone since, not because of connections but because of conviction. Ms. Walker, one of our junior associates, poked her head in. The community center called. They need advice on their expansion project. Pro bono? Michael asked. Of course, I smiled. And Michael, send my father the bill for today's merger consultation. Standard rates. The highest in the city, he noted with a smirk. Well, I said, gathering my files for the community center meeting, excellence doesn't come cheap. That's one lesson my family taught me that I actually kept. As I headed out, I passed our firm's mission statement, etched in glass. Justice shouldn't depend on wealth. Below it, in smaller letters, founded by Diana Walker. No family name needed. No connections required. Just principle, persistence, and the sweet satisfaction of proving them all wrong.